So how often do you say something like, I don't feel like it? So if you think of that, we feel things all the time. We experience them in our minds and in our bodies, and they very often and very frequently drive our performances. So a lot of athletes that I work with, they talk about, you know, oh, I just felt like I'm going to do well today, and then it happens that way. Or on another day they might say, oh yeah, no, I really didn't feel it happening today. So it's a very interesting concept, feelings, because in my mind there's like two different types of feelings. So there's the feeling of actual body experience, a feeling of physical touch, so a hot stove, cold outside, cutting yourself with a knife. Those are sort of things that your body physically feels. And then there's another type of feeling where it's like what I would call like a mental feeling. So it's a feeling that's being created internally in your body based on the expectations you create, the movies you play in your mind, and how those things play out in reality. As an example, so if you wake up on your birthday morning and you had this idea in your mind and you were playing this movie in your mind on your birthday morning, how you're going to wake up and there's going to be, as you wake up, you're going to smell like nice food being made. There's a nice big present next to your bed, and you know, people are going to come into the room. Your children might jump on you. If you haven't got children yet, you know, your loved ones will walk into the room and sing happy birthday to you. And you've got this phenomenal picture in your mind about how your birthday morning is going to play out. And then reality, what happens is you wake up on your birthday morning. There's a small little present next to your bed with a card saying, happy birthday, sorry I had to run because we're off to work or whatever. Chances are that's going to create an internal experience or internal feeling that will be potentially not nice. In the same way, if you imagine a like sort of low-key birthday morning and you wake up and there's a nice smell of food coming in and there's this big present next to your bed and loved ones walk in and they sing happy birthday to you, it'll create a completely different feeling. So the idea that our minds affect how we feel has a great impact on performance from a sporting point of view. So if a sports person thinks that their performance in a certain way, and then when they arrive, some part of what they imagine in their mind is off, it has the potential to impact that feeling that they have before their performance. And if you are the type of person that relies on that feeling, that this feeling is going to drive my performance, if I don't have a certain feeling in my body, if I don't feel excited and like sparked up and ready, then I can't go out and perform, and something happened on the morning of or the night before that doesn't match your interpretation or your movie or your perception or that expectation you're creating in your mind, chances are it can severely affect your performance. So what do we do about this? In my mind, to understand what type of feeling you're experiencing. So if it's a physical feeling in the sense that you've got a sore muscle or, you know, in that sort of sense that will physically affect your performance, then it's potentially something you can look at, manage, doctors, you know, those sort of people that can help out with that. But if you identify that it's a feeling of your mind, a feeling that's been created and you don't like it, is to maybe firstly check, are you relying on that feeling, or can you perform irrespective of what you feel? So I'll say a little bit more about that now. And the second thing that you could do is once you've identified what that feeling is to maybe just understand it better, is to say, so how did that feeling come about? Is this my mental image and kind of bumping with what's happening in reality? And if that's the case, then I would advise that you maybe check your mental movie, or you create space within that expectation that there's a bit more flexibility in terms of what I can feel and how I perform. So I did say I will say a bit more about this part about relying on our feelings. Like, I have this perception that the best in the world, what they do is they take whatever feeling they have and they use that to fuel their performance. So if you think of any feeling that you create from a mental point of view, it creates some emotion or energy in your body. And as soon as that happens, some of us rely on certain emotions to perform really well. So if I feel happy and relaxed, then I can go out and perform the way I want to perform. Where other people, you know, where the best in the world, I have a perception that whatever feeling they experience, they fuel their performance with that. So as an example, and I'm not even sure, I've never spoken with a guy about this, but it's my interpretation of it. Jacques Kallis, when his father passed away, he scored 100 in a test match against, I can't remember who. But I keep thinking of that as an example, that here's a guy who, through stuff that we've read and seen and heard, that his dad played a huge part in his development as a cricketer. So he's just passed away, but and I'm sure if he normally thrives on being relaxed and calm and mentally very focused, that potentially at that time he could have said, oh, well, I'm sad and I'm maybe feeling slightly under the weather and I'm not that great, so I can't go out and perform well because I haven't got the feeling that I want. But my perception is he used that. He said, well, if I'm sad, I'm going to use my sadness to drive my performance. I'm going to use the emotions and the things that I'm experiencing at this point in time, even though it doesn't match what I would normally want in a performance, I'm going to use that to drive my performance. And in that way, he scored 100, and when he raised his bat, it was clearly that was dedicated to his father. And I believe that we all can do that. We can tap into whatever emotions we have and whatever feelings we're experiencing and use them to benefit our performance. So maybe to end this video off, I want to ask, so what are the feelings that you're experiencing that's maybe taking away from your performance at times? So obviously if you're experiencing all the cool stuff that will help you, great. But what happens in those occasions when things don't quite match for you, when things don't quite work out, and you have these feelings that you're experiencing that isn't maybe kind of the stuff that you would want or anticipate that would drive your performance? And if you've identified those, how can you start using them to drive your performance? Could you maybe include them in practice? So whenever in practice you feel a bit uncomfortable, you say, well, how can I start using these things so that you can start learning what it is actually like to use feelings that you wouldn't normally use in order to drive your performance? So if you have any questions or any things about what I spoke about in this video around your feelings and how to use them, feel free to pop me a message at any point in time. And yeah, let's keep this conversation going.